My name is Lance Conrad, and I'm an author. I write books for a living. I went from crawling to sprinting. Now I could run through not just one world, but many. Live not just one life, but hundreds.
He wants to marry her. He'll have to come to Tetron.
And how about a nice spoiled cousin who bullies him all the time, right? What if these two characters fell in love? What if these two characters fought to the death? Show me him standing up against an entire army single-handed. And drove most of the race before hopping out to run the last one. That's a little bit different. True story, by the way. Somebody went on a trip or somebody came to town. There's your plots. They took that big old forehead and just crashed every brick, board, and brother in the house. Let me tell you a story.
And welcome to Tell Me a Story. We are here with Jacob Thorup, who was our backup of
Fourth backup.
Fourth backup. We had 4 people cancel before we had Jake join us here.
It's been a known fact, though. Like, we knew that at some point we might have people drop out and we'd need a backup, and so we had a couple, and I was one of those 2.
Yes. We've actually always intended to have you on because you are actually a very fascinating person, Jake.
Thank you.
But we kind of wanted it to be after we got in a while, just so that things could actually run smoothly.
Yep.
In fact, there is a small part of me that hope is a wrong word, right? But I love a good irony. Because when you have the video guy stand in front of the camera, it just feels like the universe at that moment is going to have all the video problems happen.
It's when the gremlins come out.
That is right.
Everything's working great, guys. We're good for the show tomorrow. That's when things go wrong. That's your knock on wood moment. So,
indeed. So yes, well, we'll see. We'll see. In the chat, you can put your bets. Is everything going to go horribly wrong because Jake is in front of the camera instead of behind it? But no, it's going to be fun.
Tempting fates.
There you go. There you go. So how you doing, Jake?
I'm doing really well. I'm feeling good.
Why?
Life's been strangely good to me in the past. Life's always been good, but like perceivably from somebody else looking at me good. Like, I feel better, like I'm like, it's not just hope. Like, it feels like it's a little bit beyond hope at this point. And so, yeah.
You've actually got some things you could point to and say, look, there is a good thing.
Yeah, right? Like,
nice.
It's not as big of a story. It's like, oh yeah, things are happening a little bit. So it feels good.
I mean, as long as I've known you, you've been a very, upbeat, optimistic person. Now, sometimes the grin has sort of that twitchy feel to it. It might be a little bit harder to just hold on to that optimism, but I feel like you pull it off.
I have a dear friend, and he asked me, just because we have had some thin years, to put it mildly, and he's like, how do you deal with that? I couldn't do that. And I said, well, it's like a muscle. Stress is kind of like a muscle. Like, the first time you can't make your mortgage payment, it's a little stressful. You know what I mean? And then your stress muscle kind of grows. You're like, okay, we can handle this. We're gonna do better. I don't recommend not paying your mortgage. That's a bad thing, but
yeah, we're not recommending this for anyone. But if you have been through it,
it increases the size of your stress muscle. It's great. So, anyways, it's how it's the same with. I've always framed fear and excitement as the same emotion. It's just how you engage it. Basically, it's like, yeah, you can be scared, or you can take that fear and making it an adventure and making it exciting, because you ask yourself, am I going to die, or is someone else going to die? No.
But did anyone die?
No one died, and so everything's an adventure if you frame it right. So
we already have one suggestion from the comments section, suggesting that you skip your mortgage and get the government to pay for it. So there's one vote for freeloading in the comments section.
Thank you, E.T. So
No, that actually makes perfect sense to me, because I think at the core of so many people there is this underlying fear of, what if I lose everything, right? What if I lose my job? What if I don't have money? What if I can't pay my bills? And like there's this almost paralyzing fear of, what if I lose everything? But there are those of us who have lost everything. And I'm not saying it was enjoyable, but you're still you.
I think people misunderstand excitement and adventure. They always associate it with positive in the moment, right? It's like, oh yeah, that sucker was yummy. Like I liked that feeling, like it was an adventure of trying something new, right? But honestly, most adventures aren't comfortable, like real adventures, right? Like it's more about the story afterwards and looking back and saying, oh my word, did we really go through that, right?
Oh yeah. I feel weird quoting myself, but Lance Conrad always says,
go on.
that an adventure is just things going wrong to people who don't give up.
There you go.
And, think about any adventure story you've ever seen or heard of. It was just things going wrong to people who don't give up. So, be that person.
I'm going to look into this Lance Conrad guy. He sounds pretty interesting.
He sounds amazing and handsome, really. I something about that quote just...
Right?
So, have you always been this way? Have you always been this... optimistic push through everything? Or
I think so. I think it comes with a I'm naturally gullible. And I know that's not something you generally admit, but like I've accepted that about myself, and so
we would say you have a trusting soul.
I have a trusting soul, which translates to gullibility. I lack a certain amount of guile that could be helpful in my business practices. Anyway, so the gullibility thing though, it allow a trusting soul. That is a good way to frame it as well, because it defines that characteristic, because I think it can be frowned upon a lot, and because you might say something you shouldn't or do something you shouldn't, but it's always in the spirit of, I'm doing this for a good reason. There was one of the most important lessons that was ever told me, that was delivered in just a sentence, was never be afraid to do something good. Right? Now, there's times when you can do something with good intentions and horrible things happen, but generally, like in the small of life, right? Like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should make breakfast for somebody. That's not going to hurt anyone unless you poison the food, right? And so it's
that depends on the breakfast.
But generally speaking, that's my mantra: is never be afraid to do something good, and everything's an adventure to be discovered. So yeah,
nice. I do have to agree with another one from E.T. Says that through those adversities we gain strength, and yeah, I've certainly seen it that way. When people protect themselves from adversity, they protect themselves from growth.
Yeah, true.
So,
absolutely.
All growth happens outside the comfort zone. Man, this has gone oddly deep.
Strangely deep conversation for someone who's so gullible and simple.
Welcome, Jake. Let's talk about life. All right. Well, this is Tell Me a Story. We want to hear specifically about your life. So, what kind of family do you come from?
A relatively large family.
How large are we talking?
8 children, 2 parents. And so there was 10 of us in the house most of the time, not including pets. And I'm number 5 of 8. And there were 2 girls and 6 boys, is what the math would work out to be on that.
that all checks out so far.
So the oldest is a girl, and the youngest is a girl. And I was as dead center as you got on that. And so I had very little exposure to women in my life outside of my mom until I got married, which made for a very interesting experience.
Have you had any interesting dating stories?
Dating was never an issue. I think maybe dating. I think I'm a little bit of an oddball, kind of geeky, Star Trek. I like Star Wars, that type of thing, and I, going along with that gullibility, I think there was a youthful hubris, might be the best way to describe it, right? And I think most
I love the word usage anyways.
Right? So where you just assume that everyone must love you. Like I had a little bit of pride that way, I'm sure, right? Youthful hubris, I think, is the best way to describe it, though, in my mind. And so when I got into an age where I was dating seriously, like, to actually find my significant other, I was like, who wouldn't want to go on a date with me? Right? And then I started, I did start getting rejected a bit, and I was like, huh, well, that's kind of weird.
Strange.
But once again, it was all through the lens of this is just another adventure to go on. I think there was that little bit of, like, I'm handsome enough, I'm funny, like, people laugh at me, right? So, or laugh with me, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't matter, like, there's laughs, people are enjoying
themselves. It's a gray area.
It's a gray area. Anyways, and so the only story I can think about from dating that is coming to mind is me and my wife, the first date that we went on. So we were in college together, actually, and we had a situation here in Utah. It's called a student ward, where we go to church with people our age so we can find a significant other, potentially. They call it the meat market in some circles. Anyways, and I'd been in this ward for about a year, and I knew Julie for about a year. That's my wife. And one day she came to me and she said, why doesn't anyone ask me out on a date? And I said, let me tell you how to get as many first dates as you want. And this works in this particular circle. I don't know if it works outside of this little religious circle, but the strategy worked. I said, you find the guy that you want to go on a date with.
And at this point, you were completely oblivious that she wanted you to ask her on a date?
She did not want it. She
did not. So why was she approaching you as the guru?
We were friends, and we were just talking.
Okay.
She just wanted to cry, just like, why are guys stupid or something like that. She's really not like that. She's not whiny at all, to be honest with you. But that came up for whatever reason, right?
It's in my brain, the way I'm picturing it is like, it's a shame nobody asked me on a date, Jake. Any reason why that might be? And you're just like, well, let me tell you.
So this comes back to two phrasings we've used thus far: Jake's gullibility and youthful hubris. So, hey, my wife's chiming in here, so she can correct me on the details that are wrong.
Wives always have a different version of the story.
Yes. So I told her, you only have to do one thing. Well, let me just tell you how to do it. Maybe it's two things, but you find the guys you want to date, and you go up to him and you say, hey, Lance, that is a nice haircut. Did you just get a haircut? It looks great.
Thank you.
Right? There you go. And then you walk away and you don't invest yourself emotionally in that guy until he's willing to invest a little bit in you. And that's how you do it. And so you don't get tied into one person you want to date. You find the group. You're like, that's a nice guy, but I'd like to get to know him better. I'd like to get to know him better. And you cast your lines, you cast your net a little wider.
You put yourself on their radar.
You just let them know, hey, I'm interested. And the guy's caveman brain is like, oh, she like my hair? Maybe I'll date her. I don't know. It's like that.
I do have good hair. What an observant and wise woman.
Right? Youthful hubris. Like, you're just playing to that ego. I don't know. And so she goes away for a month. I mean, we talked, I'm sure, but turns out she went on 10 first dates in 1 month.
Dang.
Using my little trick, right?
Wow, what an effective method.
Yeah, well, it worked for her anyways. And so she thought that we had an inside joke at that point. So once again, I was a geek nerd. I had a Star Trek tie pin that I wore every week to church just because I thought it was pretty cool.
A little something for the ladies.
For the ladies. And she comes up to me and she goes, Jake, that's a really nice tie pin you have on. And my brain did not click, and this goes to going back to the gullibility of Jake. My brain said, oh no, she's into me. I better take her on a date and let her down easy. Because I was not interested. Like,
poor girl, just overcome by my Star Wars type in.
Star Trek, mind
Star
you.
Trek, sorry.
Like Star Wars,
sorry.
Star Trek.
Don't want to start any religious debates
Right.
here.
Like, let's keep this nominal. So I decided. So I had made I had a rule for myself that if a girl was willing to put herself out there and show some interest in me, I would absolutely take any girl on a first date. Like that was rule number, I don't know if it's rule number 1, but it's one of my rules, right? And so I was like, all right, take her out on a date. But I was only interested in being friends with Julie because she was dating another video person. I'm a video producer and that's what I do. And so I was like, it's forbidden territory, can't go there, basically. And anyway, so we went out on this date and I literally was trying to unimpress her. Like
You were trying to throw the date?
I was trying to throw the date. And okay, so back it up a little bit, fill in the blank. Julie didn't want to go on a date with me either. She just thought it was an inside joke. She's like, well, it's not that she didn't want to go on a date, but we were going to go night sledding. So we were in the middle of the night during winter. We were going to go up in the mountains and sled down this hill, and she hates the cold. And so
Okay.
it sounded like a fun adventure to me, right? It was
all
a
right,
double
all
date.
right.
And so she almost said no. And the second half of that rule was that if the girl ever said no after I asked them, I would never ask them again unless I was like really, really interested. And I wasn't interested in her at the time, but she said yes because she told me later, I figured I'd get a free dinner. It was worth it. And so that was the beginning of our love story.
Free dinner.
I had free dinner. So we go night sledding. And we had a strangely fun time. I mean, I always have a fun time, but there was this weird, it just worked. And halfway through the date, we were on a double date. And so my friend's date was talking to Julie and said, wow, how long have you guys been dating? She's like, oh, this is the first time. She's like, what? Because we were blowing bubbles in each other's hot cocoa. Maybe that's disgusting and not cute, but it felt like a rom-com or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, so it worked out really well, and we found out we liked each other, and we went on a lot of dates and got married. So anyway, so that's the dating story. It has some interesting parts in it there. So.
All right. Now, we do have something in the chat here where E.T. says, youthful hubris is a very kind way to put it. I remember there were times you couldn't fit your head through a door.
So I may or may not be related to E.T. He's a bit. It could be an extraterrestrial. Could be a brother. I'm not feeling it here. He's got the sun. It might be an alien. I don't know.
Who's to say? But I am interested. What would you say was the time in your life when you probably couldn't fit your head through the door?
So my nickname when I was younger was Fathead.
Fathead.
Was actually Fathead, yes. And it's because I had ears that stuck out like this. And I don't know if my head was actually that large, but my ears were large. And so it kind of made my features look larger, I guess. So anyways, but
who was calling
my
the big-eared kid Fathead?
One of my 5 brothers, or all 5 of my 5 brothers. So.
Never mind, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, so that was the fad, and I'm sure I was full of myself too. Just
So you were rather confident for a kid with big ears.
I was. And I think it came from my dad told me that my haircut looked really good, and the ladies liked that haircut, which was a buzz. And I think my dad was actually just trying to keep me away from the ladies. And it's like, no, the ladies love this haircut. Really? Yeah. And he shaved my head. And that was my elementary school, junior high haircut, was just a buzz most of the time.
And so just little Jake just strutting around with his buzz cut.
It's all right, ladies. I know the sphere is hard to resist, but... Anyways, yeah, so that's where Fathead comes from. And the fact that I'm probably full of myself, but didn't realize it because I'm gullible. And I don't know, just... That's how people who are full of themselves are, right? They don't realize it until they smash down.
Oh, no, I'm fully aware of my own arrogance. It's part of my humility.
There we go. Being aware of their...
yeah, that's...
One cannot know they are humble until they realize the arrogance of their ways.
Indeed.
Jacob 4 verse 16. Okay, moving on.
Now, you said you were pretty close to smack dab in the middle of your family.
Yep.
Now, the stereotype of the middle child is attention seeker, always in the middle of all the schemes and pranks and everything. Was that you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was really aware of it once again, but I was blissfully unaware of it. But I love getting a laugh out of people still. I live,
Oh yeah, you're good at it.
I live for that, but I try to keep it toned down too, because you go too far and then people are like, ugh, he's just always looking for that pat on the back. So anyways. Yes, I believe it is a true stereotype of who I am and was. So,
So I think I'm kind of looking towards, frankly, if I'm gonna be completely transparent about this, your brother Will, who is taking your place behind the camera today, say hi, Will. Hi. There's Will. Reminded me to ask about something called Dirtbag Fridays.
okay, so once upon a time in good old West Valley, there was a high school named Granger High School, and there was a group of children, young adults, if you will, teenagers to some people. Okay, yeah. So we had I hung out with the skaters and the mods, I think is what we called them back then.
Mods?
The mods. I don't know if anyone ever used that. Anyway, skaters.
I'm unfamiliar
the
with
skater
the term.
group, right?
Okay, got it.
And so baggy jeans. Some of us skated, and some of us is dressed like that kind of late '90s skater culture with the baggy Jenkos and stuff like that. Airwalk, shoes were all the thing. Anyway, so we, as a group, decided that we were going to do this thing called Dirtbag Fridays. So on Thursday, there was a sign up, and you had to sign up.
There was an actual sign up.
We signed up, and it was our group. It wasn't anyone outside of our group for the most part. And you had to sign up. Are you going to participate in Dirtbag Friday on Friday? And so you'd write your name, and sign. And then come Friday, you had to dress up as dirty and nasty as you could. Ripped jeans, old
I
boots.
already love that there was organization, a sign-up sheet for this delinquent behavior.
So we've, and it was just, for the most part, it was like ripped pants and shirt, and I mean purposeful, like literally just ripping it so you're almost not wearing a shirt, and taking a ripped pair of jeans and making them more ripped and sagging your pants, and I mean just kind of like this hick bum gangster look kind of type thing, and different people wore different things. So I'm trying to decide if I should share what I wore. How incriminating do I want to be to myself? We'll pass on that.
It's okay. It'll just be a secret. Just you and me, Jake. Here in the privacy of the internet.
I think we'll pass on that. If anyone wants to ask me in a one-to-one conversation, I will share a photo with you that'll make you giggle, or question our friendship. One of the two. But
both likely.
So we do that, right? And so there would be 20 of us that would be dressed like this every Friday. But if you signed up and for whatever reason you couldn't wear or you didn't wear that, then you got a beat down. And so we would, everyone in the group would circle around you and they'd all get to punch you 2 or 3 times. And
wow.
Yeah, so it was Dirtbag Friday with the beat downs. So Dirtbag beat downs is what they were called, I think. So anyways, we got some photos. It was a lot of fun. Built character, maybe. I don't know. We got photos, video. We were teenagers.
Did the beatdowns happen very often?
It always seemed to be the same kid, if I remember correctly. I don't know if we did it more than a month, to be honest with you, but we did do it like a solid 4 weeks in a row. And I think the one kid, I can picture him in my head. It seems like it was Nate Densley's little brother, if I remember correctly. Anyway, sorry to call out names, or non-names. Anyways, I just remember him getting beat down once. Maybe it was someone who looked like him. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Don't remember exactly what it looked like.
Bruises.
What was
bruises
the general
all
look?
over the place. Statute of limitations is passed, people.
Your wife says you're never running for office.
Deal.
I dare say this interview was not the deal breaker. Just throwing that out there. Any other good high school stories?
The only other one worth mentioning was I graduated in 2000, and I was into video then. Just video everything.
Quick tangent. How
Yeah.
early? I mean, you're a video producer now. You're a video guy, very talented. All that. How early did your video stuff start?
So for me, the first time I can remember actively realizing it was something I wanted to do was probably 8th grade, though we did stuff before that with my dad's camera and just fun, stupid things. And then about 8th grade, I told myself I was going to do something with film or video. And at the time it was, I thought I was going to be an actor. And so I 8th, 9th grade year, I had an agent. I was auditioning for films.
You had an agent.
I had an agent. I had a headshot. Looked more like a mugshot. Now that I look at it, I don't think that I really understood the useful
Does that photo also still exist?
It does. Once again, send me a personal message. But it had this horrible bowl cut. Anyways, I ended up stepping away from that pretty quick when I realized there wasn't a lot of people in the groups I was hanging out with who knew how to run the camera and how to do things behind the camera. And so I decided I needed to be that guy who figured out how to not just look good in front of the camera, but help everybody in front of the camera look good by being behind the camera. And so that's really kind of where it started, getting me behind the camera. So.
All right. So if you'd had a competent video guy at that point, you probably would have just continued on that actor path, huh?
Pretty much. I've been told I am the spitting image of Ricky Schroeder. I could be a young body double for Ricky Schroeder. Was young. I'm not young-ish anymore, I guess. Getting to the older side of life, I guess. But yeah, I was told by somebody who worked directly with her, like, you could play a young Ricky Schroeder if you did a biopic or something. I was like, really? And which I didn't take as a compliment, really. I mean, sorry, Ricky Schroeder, if you're watching this, I don't think you're the most handsome man in the world. And so, anyways, it really kind of shrunk that head so I could get through doors. So it was a good thing for me. Yeah.
I think somebody once told me I looked like Tobey Maguire, which I had to go look up at the time who Tobey Maguire was. And I was like, was that a compliment? Or, I can't tell. Just some random stranger at a library.
There you go.
But yeah.
Oh, so the other
so
story.
anyways, yeah. So going forward, past the odd tangent, which included young actor.
How did we get into that?
Child star. As to where you were starting.
It was
yeah.
you. Okay, I was like, how did we get to
how
that?
early you got started with video? Like, was this always the dream?
Yeah.
And we kind of covered that.
Yeah. I mean, from a pretty young age, it has been. And the biggest issue with that, not to stay on that tangent too much longer, is I kind of stopped thinking about it after that. I'm like, I'm going to do video. So I just need to learn to edit videos and shoot videos. And that's as far as I didn't think about it from a career standpoint. And like, well, what does that look like? Why do people make videos? How is money made with videos? What is a career path? Should you go be in news broadcast? And
What education will I
should
need?
you go into film and become, a grip or a gaffer or a director or an audio guy, and like none of this crossed my mind until much later in life. Unfortunately, fortunately, maybe, I don't know. Okay, so that was the side tangent. So, senior year of high school, 2000, graduated. I was the video guy. The following year, the teacher of the video program over at Granger High School, he quit a week before school started. And they went through like 5 teachers in 1 week. Like there was a new teacher every day, like, don't want to do it, don't want to do it, don't want to do it. And I didn't have a job at that point. I wasn't doing anything. And I caught wind of the fact that they were not teaching the class appropriately in my mind. And so I went in and just started helping out. Like, because
I'm seeing a pattern here. When people aren't doing things right, you step in and make sure it gets done right, dang it.
And so I went in and I just started helping out. And I was like, okay, well, we got to work towards the video yearbook. What needs to be covered, what needs to be produced. Like, let's go do stuff. And I did that for 3 months. And the principal calls me into the office, and he's like, "Well, I've heard that you've been helping out here at in the program, and so we're gonna put you on payroll and pay you back pay for all the time you've been here." I was like, "Okay, seems legit." I'm 18 at this point, and I wasn't a teacher. There was a teacher who was the adult in the classroom who had some sort of a degree, but he was literally there to be the adult in the classroom. Essentially, he was working on other stuff
For insurance purposes,
probably
basically.
something like that. Otherwise, for all intents and purposes, I was the teacher in the class, and so for that
In the class you were taking.
yes, I took.
Yes.
That I took. Yes, the year before. So year previous, all these kids in that same class had been fellow students, and now I was a teacher, right? And so we had a lot of fun. It was eye opening because I was all serious, and we're gonna, and I was not. It's so funny in retrospect. I look at what the teacher who'd been there before was doing, and I kind of. He's not doing this right. Like, I'm not learning as much as I should be learning, this, that, and the other. And I was really negative about him. And then I became that person. I started doing it myself. And I was like, oh, this is harder than I thought. Like, kids don't just magically want to do video like I do. Like, apparently I have a strange obsession, and not everyone has. And this was surprising to me. Why doesn't everyone want to do video as much as I do? Like, for me, it was just like this exciting thing that's like, of course, everyone wants to do videos, make videos, and be in videos. Like, is there anything cooler than that?
This is what life is, people.
And that was like an actual realization for me that was not the case, and so it was interesting, encouraging kids, and I set the bar really low, to be honest with you, as far as like expectations in the class. I'm like, okay, you need to produce this, these videos so that we have this for the video yearbook at the end of the year. And I just remember like what I thought were low expectations. I can't even remember exactly what they were, but maybe they weren't as low as I thought. And
in my experience, when you keep lowering the bar, people see that and think limbo competition.
oh no, that was what was
they
going
work
on,
to
probably.
make it under the bar as you keep lowering it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I ended up failing a student body officer. She was taking the class. They let me grade the class too, and she was taking the class.
Did you abuse your power, Jake?
No, I don't think I did.
Really?
I was really disappointed because she was just taking the class as an easy A, and I told the kids, I was like, guys, this is an easy A if you put in any effort. Like, that's like literally that's what the class is. But I will fail you if you can't do these 2 assignments, basically, right? And she called my bluff, and I failed her. And then she came back, and I turned it into a D- because she needed her the passing grade for a scholarship or something college life. Okay, I guess I won't fail you. It was a horrible person. Basically, I was a horrible person.
Well, I hope she turned out all right in the end.
Maybe.
I never know.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes about people I interact with in the past. Like, were they okay in the end?
Okay, I'll keep this story really short. Connected with me being an 18-year-old teacher, I had 2 students, and they took advantage of the fact that I was an 18-year-old teacher. And they said, hey, Mr. Thorup, because I was a teacher now.
Did they call you Mr. Thorup even though you were attending that same school?
A couple of them did. These 2 probably not, but they probably referred to their parents. They told their parents that Mr. Thorup was going to be their chauffeur for spring break.
Oh.
To Las Vegas.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, sounds legit. And so we get in their Ford Topaz, matte red Ford Topaz, and we truck on down to Las Vegas.
Because what could be more natural than 2 students and their teacher going to Vegas?
Right? Well... And I am positive the way this conversation went is they heard Mr. Thorup, and they're like, he must be an educated, good man.
What a respectable sounding man.
There's going to be a few of us going down, so it's not just like me and him, and it was like me and those 2. Anyways, And so we went down and had adventures in Las Vegas and chased around on the strip and we stayed out of trouble for the most part. Like at one point I got out of the car and got into a car full of girls at one point that it's a funny story. I don't have time for the whole thing, but it was
Oh no, we have time, Jake. We have time.
okay.
Look at that. We have time for the story when you just hopped into a car of girls in Vegas.
Okay, I got to frame this just because there might be a few of the family members who are online. So I had cousins who lived in Las Vegas at the time, and so we got my 12-year-old cousin, and we were dragging him around because we got like 10% off everywhere on the strip.
So you were already chaperoning students from your own high school on a Vegas trip, and you said what this trip needs is even younger minors. You know what this trip needs? Children.
I'm not going to say these were good decisions, all right? But, okay, so we had my cousin with me, and we were getting discounts at all the places. We went to, like, the Star Trek experience, if you ever heard of that. It was this thing at the Hilton. Anyways, so it was getting close to midnight. We're like, we better take my cousin home because he's only 12 and, you know, we're in Las Vegas.
I'm so glad that crossed your mind.
So we get on the strip and we start heading back towards his house, right? I think he lived down in Flamingo or something. And we're like, oh yeah, we'll get on the strip and we'll get to Flamingo. Anyways, and this car full of girls pulls up next to our matte red Ford Topaz. Go ahead and Google that car. Okay, like it is not an impressive car. Think Ford Tempo, but like before the Ford Tempo. Like this, we're talking like 90s. So this was like early 90s, almost Ford Tempo, not quite as classy.
Wow.
Okay, there. Now you have an image in your head. And this car full of girls pulls up next to it, like, hey, how's it going, guys? Oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in Vegas on the strip, and there's girls screaming at me. And so I had one of those disposable cameras that you used to get down at like CVS or Walgreens. That you just buy for
little yellow ones.
Yeah. I shoved it out the window and took a picture of them. And I was like, I gotta have proof this happened. So I took a picture of the girls screaming at me on the strip. And they're like, oh, come back, we want to take a picture with you. Oh my gosh. And so we get up to the next stoplight. We were at the stoplight. They were 2 cars back and they're still screaming. And so I get out of the Ford Topaz.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Why wouldn't you?
And they run back and they're like, hey, you want to go for a ride with us? I was like, yeah, let's go do this.
Yes, I do.
And so I jump in, and it turns out that they were a bunch of girls from Idaho, from Rick's College, right? That's what it used to be called, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rick's College.
Yeah, know those Idaho girls party hard.
Yeah, and they had seen our Utah license plate, and they're like, oh, it must be a bunch of Mormon kids. Oh, right? And red Ford Topaz, of course it is. It took me years to understand how they knew that we were a bunch of Mormon boys. Anyways, like, oh my gosh, we're a bunch of Mormon girls, you know. And so we chased around on the strip, took pictures on top of the Bellagio, and it was good fun. Anyway, so that's my Vegas story, and we went home, and no one was worse for wear, I think. So
nice.
That's the story.
Nice. All right, so you survived high school.
Yep.
Taught some of it.
Yep.
Had random, violent, dirty fashion clubs during it.
Go on.
So I guess what I'm asking is, then what? What came next for Mr. Thorup?
So in the Mormon world, there's a coming of age called going on a mission. So I served an LDS Mormon mission in Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine to be exact, and I learned Russian. And so I did that for 2 years and loved every minute of that. And then I came back and got married, basically.
Здорово.
Здорово.
И как это было?
Очень приятно было.
Очень приятно. Здорово. Ну, спасибо.
Пожалуйста.
Yes, I also speak Russian. For the same reason. Any notable stories from
the mission?
Yeah, from the mission. The mish, as the cool kids call it.
The mission. There was. I'm trying to get all the details in my brain here. I didn't think about this one. Actually, I should have. It's a pretty big part of my life, I guess. Yeah,
2
there's
years in a foreign country learning a hard language. Yeah,
there was the
seems formative.
black market or tangerine story. So
Black market tangerines.
and Armenians. So so as part of our program, there were youth in the cities that we served in that would once a week we would have a youth night, and we would rent what was called a sports sports room, essentially
a gym, essentially.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, so we'd come and we had to rent this, and so in order to rent this, we had to negotiate with the owner, the Hazaika, I think. Would it be called a Hazaika in that case?
The landlord.
The landlord of that building. And so we had this gym that all the kids would come and they play basketball and do calisthenics and do fun things. And there was a ping pong table room in this gym that we didn't have access to. And so I negotiated with the landlord to
include that
room. And my Russian was not good at this point. And so for me to do that was like a feather in my hat. I was really proud of myself. So one of the first nights we had access to this ping pong table room, we got there and we had this big key that we would open the door with. And we got there and the place was already open and there was a semi-truck backed up to the gym doors, and there were guys loading in crates of tangerines. And I was like, what on earth is going on? And they were loading all these tangerines into my ping pong table room. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm sitting here trying to talk to him in Russian. No one will talk to me. And I'm like, my Russian isn't that bad. I don't know what. I mean, it was. It really was really bad at that point in my mission. And finally, one of the guys is like, oh, upstairs, naverk. And there was this little room upstairs that apparently their boss was hanging out in. And so I grabbed one of the guys who came to our youth night. He actually wasn't a youth, to be honest with you. Rustam, and he spoke really good English. I was like, you're my translator. I don't speak Russian. As far as anyone's concerned, like, you were my translator. Let's go up and talk to these guys. And so I had my suit on. I took my tag off, put it in my pocket, and we just went upstairs. And so there's just some kid in a suit. Like, I don't know how much. I don't know if I actually looked like an adult on my mission. I was like 160 pounds. So, and like my clothes were too big for me. But we get up there, and there's this table of about 7 or 8, apparently Armenians, who had about 4 bottles of vodka this large. And they were just sitting there, just kicking it back, just drinking. I got up there and I said, I don't know what's going on, but you guys are going to get your tangerines out of my ping pong table room right now. I pay money for that every week, and someone's either going to pay me for that or you're getting out right now. And they were all a little tipsy at this point. And so I
got to assert dominance.
And so they're like, whoa, the landlord said it's okay if we did this. And I was like, no. And so I went downstairs and I got another youthful person. And I had her write out this really basic contract saying they were going to pay me back all the money that I'm losing for not having that ping pong table room. I went up there and I had all 8 of them sign it. And they said, it is good. We have made deal. We must drink to it now. Like, total stereotype Russian, real thing. Like, and I'm like, oh no, guys.
Backroom deals, and tangerines, vodka.
Right, and I'm pretending not to speak Russian at this point, which was half true. And they're like, no. And I'm understanding what they're saying. I'm like, okay, we just got to get out of the room and I'll get out of here, And Rustam, when I'm standing up, he's only like this tall to me, right? And so he turns to me and he goes, Elder Thorup, if you do not leave now, they will force you to drink. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm out of here, And I vacated before I became the drunk Mormon missionary in Ukraine. So, anyways, that's my tangerine story, and with the ping pong table. That's probably one of the funnest stories. I mean, there was lots of little stories, and we helped bury some lady out. I buried like 3 people on my mission. Like, not killed them, buried them, but I physically.
This is how weird rumors start.
I physically dug 3 graves on my mission, and was so there was a city called Mariupol, and there was a lot. So in the Russias, the Slavic lands, there's a lot of deaf people, at least in Ukraine. And I've been told by other people that there's the people being deaf is a pretty common, is more common than you'd see here in U.S. Probably early care issues and stuff like that, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, I've been to Mariupol, and I would occasionally look at the smokestacks in the distance and see all the different colors of smoke that would come out of them. Sometimes the most beautiful reds or yellows, and I'm surprised there aren't more serious health conditions in that city, to be honest.
So one time, this is a dumb little story, but one of those three, we were burying the mother of one of these deaf ladies out in this little town. I can't remember. It sounds like Malchik, the name of the town. That's how I would find it. Whenever I go to Google Maps, I'm like, it sounds like Malchik, which is not the name of the town, but like you can find it. Like, okay, there's Mariupol, and if I follow the train track, I can get to it. Anyways, yeah, so we were out in the middle of nowhere burying a deaf lady's mom. So that was kind of an interesting story. There's actually more to that one, but yeah.
Was there a stone? Was this a real service, or was this
No, it was
like
a real
sneaking
service.
the body out of town and
No,
burying it by the side of the road?
this was the only full blown Russian Orthodox service, or Ukrainian Orthodox. Same diff. I don't tell them that.
We apologize to any Ukrainian Orthodox listening.
Yeah, but I mean, full on gold crosses and walking down the street with the coffin up on people's shoulders, and the whole town is coming out, and they all march out to the grave, and everyone gets to kiss the gold cross and everything. So it was a really interesting experience. But yeah.
Now, we do have a question in the chat from E.T. So, Jake, how many Mafia members do you stay in contact with on a weekly basis?
Well,
Jake?
Weekly, it used to be weekly. At this point in my life, it is a...
Who's got the time, right?
They used to be cool. It used to be a thing. And there was that stand-up comedian who had the whole mafia joke thing. And it was just like,
It's been done, huh?
it's been done.
All right. Fair enough.
I don't know if I actually knew anyone personally who was in the mafia, like on a personal level. I don't know if I ever met anyone like that. Like, you meet people who are associated with
who are
on some
visibly
level.
mafia.
Yeah. Especially when you're on the trains, like people in tracksuits, like that's another stereotype. It's true.
It's a thing.
They're comfortable, and Russians are smart, so whatever.
There you go. All right. So you make it back, surviving your mafia and burying people experiences. You get married to the girl who neither of you were interested in dating each other,
But ended up being a great couple. Like,
yes, indeed. You have a great marriage.
Strangely well matched.
Yep. Your crazies mesh. That's what really matters. That's what my wife and I have, is our crazies mesh.
There you go.
Or enable.
We enable each other's crazies.
Yeah, I'll have to consider that later, not on air. So now you're actually making a living being a video guy. Now, what has that path looked like?
So, non-traditional?
Okay.
It might be the best way to put it.
I absolutely believe you.
Yeah, so after, the first job I had, basically after I got married, it was like a month before I got married is when I got the job, was for a company that sold the cameras for video production, like high-end production. And then they also did what's called low voltage or AV integration. So a lot of, installing TVs and selling TVs and projectors and audio systems and automation that goes with that. And so I ended up getting kind of a side education in low voltage installation and AV automation and system design. And I did that for 5 years. And then I was just doing video production on the side. I was taking some college courses, and eventually got to the point where I decided I needed to charge for what I did, and started picking up jobs here and there. And then 2007 came around, and the bubble burst on the housing market, and my job there at TV Specialist is the company I was working for. At the time, I was a salesman, 100% commission, no base. And so,
Sell or die.
yeah, and most of my accounts were government. And in 2000, end of 2007, start of 2008, there was a government freeze in some sectors for 6 months. And so suddenly what was my normal bread and butter turned into, I ended up owing so there was no base, but they gave you a draw at the start of the month to make sure that your bills were taken care of, right? But your commission was...
But that was an advance on future commissions.
Correct. It wasn't a base. And so I ended up owing the company $10,000. Sorry, TV Specialist. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. But I was like,
well, it would have been okay till you said their name on
yeah,
it.
I know. I am a super fan of TV Specialist, by the way, and I think that if you were ever thinking about buying anything AV, go there first, give them a chance, because they are superb people. I was there today. I was literally there today buying something. So I
was completely uninfluenced by you owing them $10,000.
True, correct. Anyway, so I said, I think I can make more than negative 10,000 on my own. Like that was...
One would hope.
That was the start of me thinking maybe I can run my own business. And I always knew I was going to run my own business at some point. I was like, I think I can do better than this. And so I stayed with them for another year. I paid back that money and got about 3 months worth of work lined up. And I jumped ship and went off on my own and started just... taking any video job I could.
Now, what kind of video? I mean, I imagine there are going to be people who watch this who are maybe interested, like they have their own video passions. What kind of jobs were you doing?
Anything people would pay me for, minus some...
That doesn't sound shady at all.
Right? It's true. So there are certain things I've never done. We've avoided certain seedy industries that shall not be mentioned, but I mean, everything from... I was doing wedding videos for a little while. Those are emotionally heavy to be doing, just because you're always dealing... I mean, it's an emotional event. And honestly, for me, it was usually less the bride, more the mom that was just made it kind of rough. So anyways, there was that... instructional videos, documentaries, training video or marketing videos for people. Once again, my biggest issue that I had was I didn't have experience with other companies that were running successful businesses, and so my plan going in there was like, I know how to make videos. People need videos, and so people are going to pay me to make videos. And it's going to be great. And there is a space for that as being a production house, but you generally need to be married to like a marketing agency or a company that needs consistent video work. And I was never niched. Like I never niched down was my biggest... I was just like, this is cool. This is new. I want to learn something new video. Let's go do it. And so it was always a new adventure,
So you refused the specialize. You kept it broad and did a variety of things.
Refusal might not be the right word. This comes back to ignorance, to the fact that there is a market. Like I was simple, man. Like I was basic. Like there's a certain phrase that comes after basic, and that was me. And yeah, anyways, and so I did that for in different forms for about 10 years.
Now We do have a small tangent here supplied for us in the chat. Your wife, in fact, mentioned hilarious commercials for Spanish Fork 17.
I love Spanish Fork 17.
What is Spanish Fork 17?
Spanish Fork 17 is the closest thing to the movie UHF that exists.
Any Weird Al Yankovic fans, that was one of his great video...
his only movie he ever did.
Yeah.
That's
I think what I was trying to say.
So Spanish Fork 17 is a functioning community TV station, and at one point I got tied in with the manager down there to produce local commercials, and there was nowhere but up with those, and so we just made a bunch of silly commercials that were a lot of fun. I like making funny commercials, and people are scared of funny, especially when there's not a good plan around it, which I lacked most of the time. I just wanted to do funny. So,
Do you have any examples you could share with us? Any that stand out specifically?
Yes. Oh my gosh, there was Eat at Sam. Sorry, this was not. That was a high school. There was a commercial we did for a Mexican restaurant called Sam's Mexican Fiesta. Was the name of the restaurant? No longer in business.
Sam's Mexican Fiesta.
That was
Well,
it.
you just know that's going to be authentic.
It was there for a long time, but they had a thing called Taco Tuesdays. And one of my assignments, my senior year of high school, from I was taking classes at another school actually, was to go out and you had to find a company that would pay you $25 to make them a commercial that would air up at Kearns High School. And so we went to Sam's Mexican Fiesta and we're like, oh, we got to make a commercial for you, but you got to pay us $25. And he's like, I'll pay you in tacos. We're like, deal.
Yes. This turned out so much better than expected.
And so we made this dumb little commercial where I walk out and I'm like, and I take a big bite of this taco and I said, oh man, I love Sam's Mexican Fiesta and their Taco Tuesdays. And then this big blob of drool hits the top of my shaved head, going back to the shaved theme. This is now senior year of high school, which is another story. Anyways, so this big blob of what looks like just drool lands on my head, starts drooling down. And I'm like, what on earth? And then you hear this sound, and this T-Rex, paper cutout T-Rex, comes down and eats me. And blood splatters everywhere. And then we go to the end card, has the address for Sam's Mexican Fiesta, and it says, eat at Sam's or I'll eat you. So we were playing to the fear emotion. But apparently we didn't understand how that works in marketing and sales. It was a fun commercial to watch. Not as successful as you might imagine.
No, people did not flock to Sam's out of fear of dinosaur retribution.
Yes. Correct, sir. Correct.
That
sir.
was awesome. And I believe you were about to tell us about a different one,
Fork.
Spanish Fork 17.
That was, Will wanted me to share that one. Sidetracked us. So Spanish Fork 17, and I didn't write these ones. These were actually written by one Bryce Walker, but we created a set of 3 commercials for an eye center, which shall not be named, but might be able to be found if you look at Google Maps in Spanish Fork.
Okay.
And this was the premise. So person walks into the eye center. Oh, I'm a dumpy teenager who doesn't know style and can't comb my hair or do my makeup, right? And
Do they say these things, or is it fairly obvious from there?
Visual, right? And they come in and they pick up a pair of glasses and looks at the camera and says, better than a sharp stick in the eye, and puts the glasses on. Flash of light. And now they're Miss Spanish Fork. Beautiful. And the glasses changed them. You know, it was transformation. That was the idea, right? Like, a good pair of glasses can make you beautiful, right? That was the idea behind it. And so
I just already love the slogan. You know, Spanish Fork Eye Center, better than a sharp stick in the eye.
so there was that, right? And it made you laugh. You remembered it, and that was the key with the local commercials. And I think this can in certain realms work for probably on the higher end too. You remember comedy?
Yeah,
like
it's
when
memorable.
you do a commercial that's here at our eye center, we have the latest technology to make sure that we get you the right glasses. Come see us today, right? Man.
I have already forgotten.
Yeah, right. And so there was the one with the girl who couldn't do her hair and her makeup was all messed up. We had this old lady come in, or she's dressed up to look like an old lady, and these look nice. And she puts it on, and then she transforms into a supermodel. Right? It's the same person, right? We just made them up to look dumpy, and then they combed their hair, and so. And the third one, and all these people were like kind of character, like known celebrities in the town. So we had Miss Spanish Fork at the time. I can't remember who the older lady was, but she was a known character in town. And then the third was this guy who was like the local like heckler, like he was known as like. And so people in town knew him, so that was our star power, like local star power. So he comes in and he looks down and he's like, these sure look churchy, and he puts them on, and he's bald, like he's naturally bald, right? And suddenly he has a toupee on, and like that's all that changed.
Just a thick head of hair.
Yeah, and each one of these we had a fan blowing on, so there was wind. You know. Okay, so here's why I share this story. I thought those commercials were hilarious, and I thought they would make people remember that eye center rather well. We sent off version 1 of these commercials to the email address that was given us. It was name of doctor, name of company.
Okay.
It's gotta be the right place to send it, right? So apparently
Right.
these commercials went to the front desk lady, who was like a 16-year-old someone or other, right? Like, not a terribly responsible adult. Maybe responsible. She had a job, right? Anyway,
Right.
she watched them. She thought they were hilarious. She didn't think, and she did pass them along to her boss, but she also shared them out on Facebook,
Oh.
assuming that they were ready to go. And so this was at a time, so I was using YouTube to share the videos out. And so you can make your videos what's called unlisted. And so in my mind at the time, I was like, this is a private video. Like, this is a good way to share it. People on the YouTube channel won't be able to see it. Well, an unlisted video can be shared to other people. And so when it got shared out onto Facebook, it started being shared around. People thought they were funny, and they were starting to share them, to the point that the owner's brother-in-law saw it. And apparently he was a stuffed shirt. Like, he was like, it's not professional. Like, that's not classy. And he calls his brother-in-law and says, you're not going to, why are you putting these videos out? You're not going to air these, are you? And his brother-in-law scared off my client and said, oh, we got to redo them. And so we ended up...
Like it was going accidentally viral.
No,
That's
it was.
marketing
Like,
gold.
one time
you
in my life, I
idiot.
make a video that goes by... I mean, I've made so many viral videos, it's getting old. Call me. We'll make a viral video. It'll be so funny. Anyways, so we redo the videos into something incredibly forgettable, and they've gone out of business since then. No, just kidding. I don't know if they have or not, but anyways, those were
And that was the beginning of the end for them.
That'll learn you. Anyways, so yeah, that was my favorite one. They didn't actually air. I think I shared them out. Maybe I'll share them out again here. Like, it's so far. It was 10 years ago at this point.
So one of your greatest video commercial successes, and it never actually aired.
I wouldn't say that, but they were fun. Like, I loved making those, and I was charging so little. It's so funny to think about how much I was charging, but it was so fun. It didn't even matter. Like, we go down there, we'd literally like script on location. Like, all right, what does your business do? You know, and I'd line up like 3 or 4 of them to make it worth my time. So we'd go do 3 or 4 shoots during the day and just edit down 3 commercials for just a ridiculously low amount of money. And so, anyways, Spanish Fork 17, functional community TV.
There you go. A lot of product placements in this episode.
That's right.
Now we kind of used up most of our time, but I do want to ask, like, what have been some of your great accomplishments in video? What are you most proud of?
You know, there's part of just about anything I've done I'm a little proud of, just because it's helped me realize as you get further and further in, and I think this is with any profession, as you get further and further in, you realize what it took to do that amazing thing, like a feature film, right? I'm not going to say that I understand every position, but I understand the basic ones, and I understand what goes into making good videos, and you end up having a respect for that. So when you can pull off when you pull off a production in a way that's organized, how even a larger production, yeah, I'm proud of that whenever I can do that, even if it's small. Like, I'm just like, yeah, no, like, we went through this process that allows everyone to do their best. And so whenever we can do that, it's great. I mean, I've been involved with feature films that would fall below the B movie category, and there's parts of those I'm proud of. I love certain parts of those and certain things that happened while we were making those that I really enjoy. Whereas as a whole, like, someone might look at it and just be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to associate my name with that. But I'm just like, yeah, you know what? maybe not going to be my calling card, but I just absolutely love what we did and how we did it and when we did it, and we do it better next time. So
generally proud of your entire body of work.
yeah, I'm working
Nice.
on some stuff that I can call my own right now. I'm getting a short film together, a couple short films actually. Well, one short film and then a pilot for a potential TV series, but I kind of want to do it low budget enough that it makes sense to put on Spanish Fork 17. Pete Hansen, if you're out there, I'm wanting to make stuff for you. Spanish
Let's
Fork
do
17.
this.
Anyways, so I'm scripting some of those stories right now. One of them is a time traveler series. That's the TV series, and then the short film is a passion project that's based off of loosely based off of an experience from one of my ancestors' lives from back in the 1860s. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, that already kind of partially answers my next and probably last question is, what's next? What's the dream moving forward?
I am at a point in my life that I'm starting to feel comfortable with calling myself an adult, which is nice.
How many children do you have, Jake?
I have 4 children.
4 children. Yeah, I dare say you would qualify as an adult.
But it's like one of those things where like you have like this vision of what it means to be an adult. Like I see where my retirement is coming from, and I have got a house, and I do adult things, and I've been doing adult
I really
things for a
hope
long
those are
time.
not the criteria because I do not match them.
But yeah, I don't know. Life is making another turn. It has been in the last few years for me to enable me to do some of those things like my passion projects, I think, with the resources that I'd like to do them with. So I'm really excited about that. And I work for a great company right now that enables me to produce videos and use some of my other video skills that I have randomly picked up over the years. AV integration, design, automation crap. And I'm going to be able to keep on making videos, which I've got that weird broken cog in my head that says video.
Always video. And yes, special thanks to Udo for helping us with all this. So, excellent.
Yep.
All right. Any closing words for us, Jake?
In the words of a man I once met in the middle of the desert. Actually, no, I don't have anything. So this is Jacob
I was ready
Thorup,
for it.
signing off.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Jake, for
Thank you.
joining us on this side of the camera. We were talking before. I said, it'd be good to have you on. He's like, well, I've technically been part of every episode, which is mostly true. There was actually one that you weren't here.
There was only one that I haven't been involved directly, physically presence of. Yeah.
Yeah, but nope, definitely a major part of making all this work. So, yeah, very good having you here on this side. And join us next week. We are having somewhat of a schedule change. We're actually going to be doing Author's Corner next week, and we are going to be joined by author David Van Dyke. The author of the Plague Wars series is the one that I've read. Really cool stuff, and he's written almost 30 books.
Wow.
So yeah, very
prolific,
absolutely, very successful, and also a bit of a character. So really
good.
looking forward
Yeah,
to that one. So yes, join us next
characters.
week, Thursday, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, give us money, all that good stuff. Thanks, everybody.
Onward and upward.
Bye.